Hey everybody, it is Elson932 on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me for Love is Blind Brazil Season 5, the 50 and over. Never too late for love. If you would do me a favor, please make sure you do like, you share, and you are subscribed to the channel. And if you feel like doing extra support, I certainly welcome you joining the membership where we have conversations that are for the mature crowd. So you're in the right place. So episode 1. Now Love is Blind. I love these first 2 episodes I'm going to cover here. Absolutely amazing. But here's the thing. These seniors did not get the good press that the other Love is Blind get. I didn't have the individual photos. I had to guess who was who. It took a lot to get this together. But hey, I got it together and we are here. We see a few of them. You know, they open the pods as usual. The host and hostess is there to greet them. And we hear from a select few. And 2 of them that I wanted to point out was Leonardo, who said, our time is more precious now. JC said that love after 50 is better than 40, 30, or 20. So Lucielma says she wants a lustful man. I was like, okay. Because she does not want a floppy fish in the bed like her ex-husbands. But she hasn't had any in 6 months. I was like, girl. And she's like, oh no, my family's watching this. I said, girl, it is too late for that. It's too late. They're going to leave that in. Gustavo, we find out, is a massage therapist. And he said it helps with his flirting. And his voice helps him too. And I'm like, Gustavo, we're not here just to flirt. We're looking for a wife, okay? Fatima tells us she has 9 grandkids, and she has found that people are kind of prejudiced against her since she is 70 years old. But she's just starting with life. And she said you have to live every day like it's your last. So day 1, the pods are open. We see Sylvia, and she tells us she's an actress, a model, a flight attendant, and an influencer. She's been single for 5 years, and she told the universe she needs a boyfriend. I said, Sylvia, you need a man husband, okay? You need a husband. After being an influencer, she said she's had a lot of interest. Okay, Sylvia, I'm peeping your game. But she does not beg for love. If it's not working out, she will move on to the next. I see a deck of cards. I see you a player. I see you a player, Sylvia. I'm going to watch you. So she says she likes one guy, you know, who has, you know, like 8 cats. And they're running around and it'll be fun. And I'm like, girl, 8 cats? Now, I'm a pet lover. I have 2 dogs. We have had, you know, a cat previously. But 8? They're going to have their own wing of the house. They can't be roaming all over the house. She meets a Wagner who is 58. And he says, you know, there's an exchange of energy. And he's careful not to carry around the energy of all the other participants. We found out he's an IT graduate and also has a degree in neuroscience. And he, you know, studies ufology. UFOs, y'all. Which Sylvia was so happy to tell him that she has seen UFOs. Y'all, I'm not here to debate whether UFOs exist or not. I'm just saying that is a very particular conversation. I'm glad they found each other. But she loves that she could talk to him about UFOs and such. Okay, Sylvia, there's a lid for every pot. Now she talks to Revo, who is 67, and he wants someone who is his equal and his friend. And if she's a nice piece of horse or a hottie, that adds to the package. Now, Revo, I'm already turned off by you. I know that's what you want, but it's the way you describe what you want. I'm already turned off. Okay? He says, yes, he's old, but he wants to do everything. He does not stand still. He works out and he's still got it. And he does CrossFit. And I'm like, where? Where? Because with you sitting in that chair, I'm seeing, you know, no 6-pack. Okay? There's a little rounding around the middle. And as a person part of the plus size delegation, I know about rounding around the middle. Okay? She tells us that her son is a Krav Maga master. And she works with nunchucks and the son trains her. And she gives us a little bit of flair and a little bit of kick from her confessional chair. And I'm like, okay, Sylvia, who are you trying to hurt? She likes them both, Wagner and Revo. And she hopes that Wagner rated her high so he can see her again the next day. We meet Maria Luisa, who is 63. She said she was married and lived with her husband for 23 years. They had 2 kids. And she's doing these day second interview. And one of the men mentioned it. And I was like, ooh, girl, they ain't gonna like you because we ain't here for interviews. She said when her marriage was over, she thought she would never find love again. One man asked her age. And she deflects it. She said, I don't look my age. Y'all, we know she's 63, but she ain't telling none of them men. One man said that, he heard this was over 50 and he thought it was for only women in their 50s. But this is much broader than he thought. Another man said he is single and he is waiting to talk to Sylvia that we talked before. And then he switched up and said, oh, no, Maria Luisa. I said, dude, you're playing games, and she clocked you. She does think that men are missing out on ladies her age, and she's not interested in just anyone here. So she will be sitting here watching the process. And I'm like, Maria Luisa, I hope you're watching it and spilling tea. We don't need you just here as spectator, okay? But she does not disappoint, y'all. Maria Luisa does not disappoint. She gives us the play-by-play. She is our narrator, okay? And I love it. Next, we have Nivea, who is 57, and Ricardo, who is 53. He tells her he is from Uruguay. This is the best time of his life. After living so many experiences, he never got married, because his job has been international and he traveled a lot. Now, he is into luxury cosmetics and the beauty industry. And she tells him that she works for a fashion marketing company. Okay? So she was married for 25 years. They had twins together. He had already had 2 kids in his previous relationships. He passed away 3 years ago, and grief has given her a new lease on life, okay? And they leave with him saying kisses, smooches, and all stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is the first date. Can we tone it down just a little bit? Just a little bit. So in the women's lounge, they talk about names. And I'm like, oh, time out. Ladies, let's not talk about names, please. Okay? So Nivea does share that her husband's name is also Ricardo, and it could be touchy for her because her husband was her great love. So she cried a little bit, and now she's like, she used to call her husband Big Ricardo, and I'm like, are you going to call this one Little Ricardo? I'm finding a disconnect here. But y'all are connecting, but I'm not sure how I would feel or how the kids would feel that you marry someone that has the same name as their dad. That's going to be a little tricky. She said no one will take his place of her, husband that passed, but now she, has the will to have a new love in her life. A love that is freeing and not imprisoning. And I'm like, girl, what are you trying to say? How have you been withheld or in a cage in your previous love life? So we do see them quite a bit, okay? So they go on another date and he says, she says, hey, how are you doing? He says, he don't know who this is. He don't remember her voice after one date. Okay. And I understand him, but she looked a little taken aback, but hey, she got over it. And she says she likes going out and jazz. He likes dancing. She likes salsa dancing. They both like to see. She, likes that he is easy and laid back. And I'm like, okay, that could be nice, but that could sometimes get on your nerves. She says life makes her happy. And they don't seem to want to talk to anyone else but each other. In the women's lounge, Maria Luisa is telling all the business. Okay? We love Maria Luisa telling all the business. She says Nivea already found her guy. Okay? Sylvia is between Wagner and Revo. But Revo is also talking to Fatima and Leica. And I was like, ooh, tell us more, Maria Luisa. So Riva, says, hey, he comes for those who wait for him. And I'm like, dude, that is not that funny. Okay. So Fatima and Revo have a date. He finds, that she does not sound like she's 70. She's vibrant. She has energy, and she says that keeps her looking young. And, she's like, you have to have, your own internal power. She has faith that she will find a guy. Okay. Now, Revo is 67. So he's the eldest guy in his group. And at 70, Fatima is the eldest lady in her group. So Revo is talking to Leica. And Leica says, hey, he sounds 30. And he said, hey, that's his mental age. And she does share that today's her birthday, her 51st birthday. And he shares today is his mom's birthday. So he likes that. She likes him and she likes that he's full of life. Now, Leica does have a date with Leonardo, who's 50. Okay. Leica tells us she got divorced 6 years ago. She's been single for over a year and she wants a calm life in peace and happiness. He is a dentist with 3 kids and he started early. His eldest is already 30. Okay, you started at 20. I don't think that's early. I think that's a pretty cool age, okay? So he does look like the Don Juan type, y'all. He is a dentist, okay? He's got the pearly whites. He's got the suave look, the dentist that you see on those posters out there that's, looking to the side and got that great smile and grin for you. That's how Leonardo looks. You always see a picture, of course. I have it here for you. But he wants a woman who is light and more tolerant and brings brightness to everyday life. He makes an effort to take care of himself to stay in shape, but is very chill. She has been married 2 times, never had any kids, but she has a dog. He did look concerned that she never had kids. So I'm wondering if he will ask her, has she ever been a bonus mom to anyone who had kids? He said he too did get married at a young age, 18, like her, and she is passionate about life and is affectionate. He does find her interesting, and they do date more. She says she doesn't want to influence him too much, but she wants to share how she feels, and she wants to be with him and to get to know him and hug and kiss him. And I'm like, girl, it's only been like the first or second date. I need us to pump the brakes. But then again, we're over 50, so this means they definitely want to, hurry it along a bit. In the women's lounge, Leica shares that Leo did not say that she was his top pick. Maria Luisa, y'all, is sitting right there. She is front and center getting all the tea. She is gathering the tea to serve it to us later. So she says she's pretty inactive, but he works out. She does have low self-esteem and she is a jealous person. Possessive too. Ooh, I see some issues here. Fatima shares that Revo is the male version of her, outgoing and as the eldest person. In the men's lounge, Revo said his head is racing, okay? It's not so simple as he thought. So we see Maria Luisa said, not everyone is confused. Some are focused. And then we see Nivea and Ricardo. So she does ask, how important is intimacy in a relationship? The S word. So Ricardo says the 10.9. She said, it's not just, the smecks. It's more about intimacy because if you're more intimate, you have better smecks. He says, it's challenging to talk about feelings in another language. Now, y'all, Ricardo does speak Spanish. He is from Uruguay. So she says she can't understand his Spanish. And I'm like, sir, it's challenging to talk about your feelings in another language, but it's not challenging to talk about smecks in another language. I'm giving you the side eye, Ricardo. Okay? I'm giving you a side eye. So he does share with her he's wearing quirky socks. She loves that. She loves the quirkiness in a person. And he says he has a 14-year-old daughter. He was 39 when he had her, so he was not a kid. And he said a child is a gift. And he's had relationships before where he could have kids, but he did not. Okay? Now, she does mention her deceased husband's name. And she's like, did you catch that? He's like, yeah, I caught that. That we have the same name. She said she didn't want to say it because she didn't want to affect him, and, basically push in his process. So he says it will affect him. He tells us in the confessional because he may want to feel like he has to live up to the level of being the greatest love of her life. Then we see Leica and Revo. He says she brings him peace. She loves to take care of people. And he says seduction here depends on your tone of voice and how the conversation flows. And he likes the seduction part. She does find him cute. And I'm like, cute off of bunny rabbits, babies, and puppies. Not for the man you're going to be married. Cute girl. He said there's a strong connection. She is his top pick. He knows he is not her top pick. Okay? But she wants to talk with him more before making a decision. He said there's a spark with her and he wants to move forward with her. In a woman's lounge, Leica says, Reva told her that she is his top pick, But he's the only one close to Fatima's age. And she feels awful. And Maria Luisa is sitting there again, collecting all the tea to spill for us later. Okay, I love it. Nivea and Ricardo, she tells about, her marriage. It lasted for so long. And the last 2 years, he was sick before passing. She did everything for him. And that was about 3 years ago. Ricardo shares that he wanted to leave Uruguay, so he went to Argentina with his cousin, or by his cousin, and he was with a lady for 8 years. And he didn't marry her because he was 24, but she did propose to him. He said they should, think about it, and she was not happy with it when he said that. So that lady was not happy with him when he said they should think about it. Okay? So where does he see himself in 5 years? He says that, he wants life that's uncomplicated, and it would be fantastic if it was with her. Okay? So they have another date. He sends her flowers, her favorite. He didn't know, though. He shares that he's really happy, and it feels a lot like love. Then we see another date with them. She sends a gift for him. It's a string of hearts, y'all. She made like a collage, like how we string popcorn, some people do on Christmas trees. She made basically strings with hearts on it and different things about them, like the sea, the pods, different keywords about their journey and their story. And he said no one has ever done something like that for him. And she did ask if he would be her boyfriend, and he said, of course. In a women's lounge, Leica went to talk to Fatima and tell her about Revo. Fatima is like, hey, Sylvia already told me. And Leica was mad. She wants Sylvia as far away from her. And I'm like, this is why you don't talk about this stuff in the pods and share all your daggone business. Because it's going to be shared around with other people. Jeez Louise. Sylvia says she didn't ask me to keep it a secret. So she doesn't feel sorry for that. I was like, ooh, we seen a little Mean Girls action up in here in the women's lounge. And I thought the over 50 would be the mature crowd. Leica and Leo, she says she has doubts about him being happy to see her. Leo says he does want her, and if she sees his notebook, she will understand how he feels. I'm like, just read it to her, Leo. Just read it. But she wants to be his life partner. In a bench lounge, Leo talks to Revo, and he shares his choice is Leica. And Revo says she too is on my list, my first choice. And Leo's like, daggone it. Revo's like, hey, we still friends. We're buddies, but hey, I'm not giving up on her. I'ma still try. But Leo looks like he won't fight for Leica. I'm sorry. Leo looks like, oh man, you want her? I'ma step away. Come on now. Leo, I need you to behave yourself. Revo said he's going to try to change things into his favor. Maria Luisa comes and tells us the tea. He's like, I don't think Leica is that into Revo, is what Maria Luisa tells us. And I agree. Maria Luisa goes on to say she's in love with Leo. And she won't take Fatima's potential husband from her. Leica and Revo, she says, hey, her number one has said that he is sure. And I'm like, why are you saying anything to Revo? She says they are settling things. He's like, yeah, I know. I told him I'm not going to give up. Okay? He doesn't care what she looks like, tall, short, etc. The connection is important. And, she's like, hey, I already give my word and I will not go back on it. Y'all, if y'all been here with me, y'all done heard this before on Love is Blind UK Season 2, and the girl did not stand on business. So I'm a little skeptical, Leica. No offense to you, but I'm a little skeptical. So she said, hey, she already gave her word. Revo said it's hard because he may be losing the love of his life. Revo is smooth. Reminding me of like Rico Suave. That's why I probably said that. And he is smooth. He's like, hey, I don't want to lose you. But she says she is now with Leo, and, but anything can happen. Riva says, don't hug me too tight when you see me, okay? Because I may not want to let go. And she says, oh, you're amazing. He's like, yeah, but if I was that amazing, you would be with me. But he wishes them both success, and he was stunned by her choice. In the men's lounge, Riva goes over and congratulates Leo. And I'm like, dude, you should have let her tell Leo what her final choice is, or that she did break it off. And put a pin in that, because Revo does something later, okay? So we see Nivea and Ricardo, And she thought he was going to reject her. And she starts crying when he starts talking about this and about that. And she thinks, oh, he's about to dump me. But he says he's never proposed before and he was saving it for someone special. She is crying at this point. He kneels and proposes, and she is weeping against the wall and says, yes, I will. Now, what I love about South America, okay? What I love about my South America, Love is Blind, the Mexico, the Argentinas, and Brazil. We don't wait and do a whole bunch of segments before we have the reveal. We go right into the reveal after a proposal. Love it. So they're both smiling, y'all, on the reveal. He goes for the kiss right away. Okay? Ricardo said nothing in the world beats a hug and a kiss. He says even if he could see her, he would still choose her. And she is much more beautiful than he thought. He proposes again, doesn't kneel this time. She says, yes, I will. But y'all, again, in Brazil, they both get rings. And they both place it on their right hand to show that they're in a committed relationship. When they get married, it moves over to the left hand. This is why I love the international versions. We learn so much about culture and customs as far as getting married, getting engaged, and I absolutely love it. She felt she found a lifelong love, and he feels like he won the lottery. She is happy. They are happy. We have our first couple, Nivea and Ricardo. Then we see Revo and Fatima. She's been divorced since 2005, same time her brother passed away. And Revo said, we have grown in the face of diversity. After her brother passed, she says she got into a healthy lifestyle so that she has lived past the age he got to. And she agrees, not to try to change a person in a relationship. Then we see Sylvia and Revo. He said he's not a jealous dude. He will look at a gorgeous woman who walks by, okay? Admiring something beautiful is not disrespectful. And she's like on her side going like, no, 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 no. But she doesn't say it out loud. So she says, what? I can't deal with that. He says he is missing the eye contact with someone because you can really see somebody's reaction, okay? She does share that her son's father hated the fact that she was having their son and she had to go through it alone. But she's gotten stronger because of that. She also is used to her freedom and space, and it may take a while to adjust. He says freedom and trust is fundamental in a relationship, and they need to have chemistry. She's like, have you ever needed to take something, in bed? He's like, I have taken it. It's wonderful, but it's important to feel attracted because he's not a machine. And she loves his openness. And I'm like, what exactly, Revo, did you take? Did you take the blue or the red pill? And, inquiring minds want to know, what did you do when you encountered the Matrix? So Sylvia is concerned about Fatima and so is getting to know Wagner better. Fatima only has Revo as the closest person to her age. So Sylvia and Wagner, he says, I heard you're a favorite. You're on the top of my list. And she is feeling weighed down by all this responsibility. But she wants to get to know him better. So he felt that she backed off a little bit. And he thought he was her top pick. On the next date, Wagner does send her a gift, a romantic letter. Now down the side of the letter is her name. And each line starts with the letter of her name. It was a romantic letter and she loves it. She shared that she was on a live once, okay? Because she's the influencer. And a guy asked her if she would ever consider an adult platform. And he's like, okay. And she joined one of those adult platforms. And he said, what type of content? Is it sensual? Y'all, he looks a little uncomfortable. He's sitting on the floor and he's like tense. He stopped moving. She said, yes. Things like she's taking a shower, but she's in a bikini. He said, oh, I could get behind that kind of content. And I'm like, really? You don't look that comfortable, but hey, who am I to say y'all are grown? Y'all are grown-ups. And I'm like, Sylvia, is that as grown as your content gets? I'm intrigued, worried, wondering if you're on here also to build and expand that platform. I don't know. So she says, he is wonderful and open-minded. And it's, slipped out that he said, I love you. on the way out. She's like, oh, bye, love. And he's like, I love you, and walked out. So Revo and Sylvia, they have their date, and she's a fantastic person. She does like him a lot, wants to get to know him better, okay? But she wants to get to know another person better. He is sad, really sad. She is crying. He said, don't cry, follow your heart. So Revo says, hey, today has been hard, okay? So remember, Leica told him, hey, I'm choosing Leo. Now here comes Sylvia telling him, I'm choosing somebody else. So she said she broke up with Revo because of Fatima. I'm like, girl, you foolish. Why are you breaking up with someone just because somebody else is in there? Girl, behave yourself. So Fatima comes over and tries to console her in the woman's lounge. And she, Sylvia tells her. And Fatima says, I don't want your leftovers. Don't say you leaving him for me. He's an option, and she's not sure she actually wants him. Who does Sylvia think she is? Like she's being generous, just giving Revo to Fatima. So Fatima gets very angry. Leica gets angry, saying it is wrong for you to say you're leaving him or giving him up for Fatima. But Leica, we already know you're already mad at Sylvia for spilling the beans to Fatima. So Sylvia goes and chats with one of the other ladies and say, hey, I had to choose between the great love of my life and a friend. And I chose my friend, and she treats me like this. She says every time she helps someone that is not herself, she gets screwed. But she is regretting giving up Revo. So Sylvia does go back in the pods to see Revo. She went back to see him. She wants no regrets when she leaves here. And Revo is like, hey, we've had a nice bond, nice connection. She says, yes, we have something special. He said it's hard. He was very emotional when she broke things off, but he was not expecting those strong emotions. This has made him feel a little insecure and a little bit of a punch in the face when she dropped him. She felt lost, and she said she left her heart in the pods with him. She does propose to him, and he paces. Y'all, that is the end of episode 1. Y'all lucky we're going straight to episode 2, okay? We in here for the long haul. Revo and Sylvia, this is where we pick back up. He says, hey, I'm lost right now. Let's think about it. He wants to continue with her and get to know her. He says, show me who you are, and I will show you who I am. We are like-minded and want to see how far we will go. But he is worried, okay, because his friend, Wagner is going to get hurt. But it's not his responsibility to tell him. He asked her to tell Wagner. Remember, Revo before went up to Leo and said, hey, congrats, man. After he had his date, he felt it was his responsibility to tell Leo that, Leica chose him. But right now, you don't want the responsibility to tell Wagner. Sounds suspicious. Sounds very suspicious. So he says, it's scary for him too, because up until a few minutes ago, he had nothing and she had broken up with him before. But she does understand that he is shocked, okay? So he is not giving an answer. In the men's lounge, Revo refuses to say who his pick is that he is torn up about. And they all guess it's Fatima. Okay? Which they guess wrong. So they do this, discuss in the women's lounge how Sylvia's behavior is just nasty. And Sylvia tears up and, is pissed off at Leica. So Sylvia said it's so childish since she barely spoke to Leica. And she's here to find her person. And Leica thinks she came here to show off. Expand that adult content, I wonder. Leica and Leo, she says she's used to falling in love easily. He says he's not concerned about the bachelorette party. She says she is concerned because she is possessive. He said, hey, I won't be jealous of Revo. She said she will be jealous of the other lady because she's jealous and possessive of everything. Her parents, her siblings, her nieces, even her pen, she is possessive of. And all I said is run, Leo, run. Leo, if you don't run now, you're going to be in big trouble. Leo thinks, just a little bit of jealousy means you care. Leo, we ain't talking about a little bit. She is jealous of her pen and possessive of her pen. And you are a handsome dentist. So Leica says, she's a little crazy, but nothing to scare him, but she's not normal. She is telling you, Leo, she ain't normal. He says, hey, well, we complement each other. We're a good mix. Sylvia and Wagner. She, just has to tell him that she wants to get to know another person. He asks who. She does not want to say. Okay? But, he says, don't be sad. He says, what is strange is that they bonded. He read a letter from her. They can be friends forever. And she does send her love to him as a friend. So Sylvia broke up with Wagner. She thinks maybe, he was faking being fine. And I'm like, you think all the men want you? Sylvia, you think all the men want you? And all the men are torn up about breaking up with you. He's fine. He said he's fine. Maybe emotional, but he's fine. He said he wonders who else it is. Who's the other person? But he thinks and assumes it's Revo. In the men's lounge, Wagner asked Revo to come over and talk. Now, this is where I wish Maria Luisa was in the men's lounge to get all the tea, but we get to see it. They have a wonderful confrontation, y'all. A wonderful confrontation. They're holding hands while they talk. I really like that, but they're really talking. And then it gets steamy. It gets real hot. So, hey, he said Revo says, hey, I felt it fair that she talked to you first. That it's not a betrayal. He don't play dirty. This is Revo talking. He don't play dirty. He could not say anything. And Wagner said, yes, you could have. You could have. Because we had a good rapport. Wagner is pissed at him because he was the only one acting different than all the other guys. All the other guys have played fair and played honest. He said, I would have told her, this is Wagner, I would have told her that I disagree and I would talk to the other guy. That this is his opinion and he respects Revo and respects his opinion. Okay? But he would have acted differently. Revo says, I'm not obligated to tell you anything. And Wagner's like, no, you ain't. We all different. It does not mean that he didn't hurt him by not, telling. But Revo said this was not my idea. Revo, time out. Revo, you told her, I think you should go tell him. It was your idea that she tell him. So your thing of saying, it ain't my idea, bollocks, foolishness. So Wagner said, you have some responsibility in this. Don't run from it. He's like, don't place responsibility on me where I have none. And Revo, y'all, was adamant. Don't put it on me. Don't put it on me. And I'm like, Revo, you sound a little triggered. So Wagner said, we're dealing with people and souls and he don't play with people's souls. Okay. He says, why are you treating me this way when we've always been good? Okay. I'm asking questions to understand. And he feels betrayed by Revo. Revo tells Wagner he thought he had it in the bag, okay? He thought that Wagner had it in the bag, but now today, he's got Sylvia. He said what happened can be very annoying and very bad, but hey, this is what happened. And I'm like, Revo, you could have turned this around and say, hey, I understand because Leica broke up with me. I totally understand where you are because I was there. So Revo does say sorry for not talking but he doesn't feel that what he did was wrong. Wagner said he's leaving with a light heart. The universe must have something in store for him. Now, y'all, our good girl, our good sis, Maria Luisa is in there. She said, oh, Sylvia was in love with Wagner and Revo, but Revo was in love with both Fatima and Sylvia. And then Leica came in, and then Leica chose Leo. It's all so messy, and we love it. So Revo wants it all, but may end up with nothing is what she continues to say. So we know Revo is a little player. Fatima and Revo, she said, hey, tensions are high. Okay, she got into a little scuffle in the women's lounge. And I'm like, why are we telling him this? Okay. She says there are a lot of people here, that want her. And there are even people outside of this that want her, even as young as 20 years old. Now, Revo said he loves her willingness to talk. He wishes her well and would like to be her best friend. She is fabulous, but he does say goodbye. So Revo breaks it off with Fatima. Revo says, she's not his type. She says, that guy is so weird. And I was like, oh my gosh, y'all couldn't have spliced this better if you did it a different way. Fatima says, all the baggage you get over the year makes you complete, so don't waste time with just anyone. Her standards, start with the performer Sting and it goes up from there. And the right person will come to her Eventually, Leica and Leo. She goes into that lounge and calls him husband. They talk about Revo, and he thinks that he and Leica are more compatible. I'm like, why are we talking about Revo? Why is his name coming up? But Leica does ask Leo and say, you better have a lot of stamina. And I'm like, wait a minute. Aren't you the lady that said that you live a very stagnant life? Why are you asking about stamina? He said, hey, he's never stopped cardio early. And she says she knows she wants to see him more. They go on more dates. They start saying they miss each other. He gives her, happiness. She gives him peace. And he does give her a gift, a rose and a pendant. He has the silver one. She has the gold. It is for protection and strength, and he proposes. Leo says, I really like it if you agree to marry me. I'm like, that is not a question. That is a very lackluster proposal, Leo. Leica says she has goosebumps. She says yes, more than anything. And he is hoping they'll be happy together. So we go right to the reveal. She's wearing the pendant, y'all. She's wearing the pendant for the reveal. But he looks disappointed. The doors open, and while he had a smile on his face, it did not reach his eyes. That's just my opinion. It didn't reach his eyes. It looked like the fake smile for the poster outside to advertise his dentist, practice. So she looks hesitant. He goes in for a deep kiss. She says he's handsome. Oh my gosh, you're so handsome. Now he does say the lips fit like fireworks. The kissing is the beginning of everything. Leica said his touch is delicious, the kiss is delicious, everything about him is delicious. He is everything she's ever wanted. How can she not be possessive with a guy like that? And I'm like, Leo, I need you to pay attention. He said she is what he thought she would be, and she knew she would love him. He proposes, again without kneeling. They have rings for both of them. She could see, his love since they bonded in so many ways. Y'all, he never compliments her. Never compliments her dress. We never see that he says she is beautiful. Never says anything. She says in the back, after the reveal, that she is still nervous if he really likes her. And all Leo is talking about in the back is, she's a good kisser. If that kiss is the beginning, the honeymoon is promising. Leo, you're giving me the tone of you an F-boy. Did you just hear to slap some skins? I had high hopes for you. I don't know why, but I had high hopes. We see and meet Luciana, who's 50. She's been in relationships since she was 14. The last two, was 22 years with her ex-husband, and then she met her ex-girlfriend, and they were together for 9 years. She said that was a very intense relationship. She talked to a few men. Okay, we see her talking to quite a few in the pods, and then tells Fabio, that her next man, his name gonna begin with the letter F. And he's like, oh, I'm the only man here with a name beginning with F. Calm down, Fabio. Calm down. Now, Maria Luisa likes Lou because she leaves it all on the floor in each pod. Then we see, they call her Lou. Luciana, they call her Lou. So I'll call her Lou every now and again. So we see Lou with Fabio and Samuel, okay? She says she loves kissing. She'll grab his face. She, has her own toy collection, okay? She has her own bobs and toys and can get herself to the promised land with a big O. And when she's talking about this, Samuel says, hey, if a woman can't handle her own O, then how can I even get her there? He says she raises the bar for him and she's spicy. So she's telling all the men the same play, y'all. We see her over and over and over again telling them, oh, I'll put a constellation by your name. Forget a star. She playing. She giving player vibes. So Fabio, says he only wants her. She's like, okay, well, I'm still talking to other people. Okay. Fabio said he makes up his mind. It was quick. Her energy felt like it from the first meeting. In the men's lounge, Fabio said he chose her and she chose him. Slow your roll, Fabio. She ain't chose you. Slow your roll, Fabio. So Mario says, well, if I ask her, did you choose Mario or did you choose Fabio? What would she say? He said, don't ask her that. And I'm like, that's when Mario, you clocked it that he was full of caca. So Mario thinks, This don't sound right. And Fabio thinks, well, maybe she's just curious about other people. Mario says that if Fabio chose her, then he will step away. Why are we doing all this step away? Let people step up and make choices. Fabio says he will tell the other participants that he has chosen Luciana. And y'all, he told them all. He told them all. He said, I got to follow my heart and I have a connection with someone else. I said, dude, you rushing things. So in the women's lounge, Maria Luisa comes up. You know, she got all the tea for us. She says, hey, there's going to be a wedding. Fabio told me, girl, that he sealed the deal. And Luciana said, no, he didn't. It's not a done deal. He's getting ahead of himself. She has 6 potential candidates. I was like, 6? Okay. One lady is concerned that Luciana is here for attention. And Maria Luisa tells us that Luciana wants Fabio and Mario, but Mario is also talking to other women. So a storm is coming. Okay? Now, I don't know if she sees herself in this regard, but Luciana is part of the plus size delegation and I'm loving it for her. Okay? So Mario is 66 and he's with Ustinelli. She is 54. He has her grandfather's name. He says he doesn't want to tell his age, though, because, you know, she may have some preconceived notions about him. But he does have a 15-year-old son, and he feels like he stopped aging once his son came to live with him. He felt younger. So she tells us that her daughter signed her up for it. You know, all her kids and her are close. She was married for 23 years, divorced for 8 years, and she's been single for 7 months. And that previous relationship lasted for 10 months. Okay? Mario said, what would you do different from your last marriage? Maria's coming with some heavy, good questions, y'all. She said, accepting what I don't deserve. That she is a better version of herself now. So he asked about her flaws, and she says she's too intense in relationships. But they both say they feel like they've known each other for a long time. So we see them on another date. Mario said, is the Smix better or worse than before? She says, better. You could deal with more now. He loves it. He loves that answers. He says, he's way more active at this age. Yes, Mario. That's why you got a 15-year-old son right now. Okay, sir? You got a 15-year-old son because you're more active. So she says she likes performing. He said, gentle or rough? She says, rough. Full strength, please. And he is just tickle pink. And he's like, we are very compatible. So she was all set to... She's all set to go on Mario, y'all. He is flattered, but says, hey, it is too early to decide. Now, he has to decide between Luciana and Utinelli. Now, Utinelli says she's a complete person. She does not compete. She is just here to find love and have her love find her. Now, Luciana and Mario, okay, she says, you know, what is your intimate life like? He's like intense and frequent. Quick sometimes is good, but I like to go for 3 or 4 hours. She's like 3 or 4 hours. He says, yes, and I'm a dom. And she says, ooh, I want to talk to you more. He said he loves that Luciana feels so free to talk about Smix, but Utinelli is more reserved. He said that Smix is important, you know, to talk about in a relationship. In a woman's lounge, y'all, Luciana comes in and tells the woman all about Mario, how open he is to talk about the bang, 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 and he's a dom, and she would sleep with him right now, easy. And I'm like, you do sound easy, Luciana. I'm sorry. You do sound easy. Utinelli, meanwhile, is listening. She says, I'm listening. She was, she was very excited about Mario, but now this has made her uncomfortable. He has lost points in her mind. It's another day. We see Utinelli and Maria Luisa. Okay, she always in the middle getting all the tea, y'all. So Utinelli says, she's putting it all together. He does not want to talk about age, but he wants to talk about Smix all the time with many different women. So Maria Luisa is like, hey, that's classic for a guy to do. You're being naive. Utinelli agrees, but hey, this is not comfortable for her. So Maria Luisa said, hey, you're naive to think that he's only talking to you. You can lose him by how irritated you are. Utinelli say, hey, this is about perception because what she has been through in the past. And loyalty is most important in a relationship. So Utinelli and Mario, they have a date and she says, we had a hot conversation yesterday. He's like, yeah, and I'm hoping it gets hot again today. Sir, Is that what you're really here for? Just hot? Hot? That's all you're here for? So she brings up Luciana and how their conversation was also hot. And y'all, his face drops. His smile drops from his face. And it's like the first time he realizes, wait a minute, the woman maybe compare notes. She says she's lost interest in him. He says, hey, he talks smecks with his friends, male and female. And she said, hey, She's giving us the cutoff sign. She said, it's me and my opinion. I do not want my husband to be casually talking about intimacy with another woman. I wish him all the luck in the world, but she's done. He says not letting him talk about smecks with another woman is like overdoing it. Utinelli said it would never work out. She is done and life goes on. She will keep an open heart and mind so that love will find her. Now, Maria Luisa comes out and tells us Utinelli left Mario, so the coast is clear for Mario and Luciana. Luciana now has Fabio and Mario. I love the play-by-play by Maria Luisa. Thank y'all for not sending her home. So, Revo and Sylvia, he's worried that, he's feeling all these feelings like this is his first crush. She's open up to being, emotional, that she was a single mother back then when she went viral, and she tells him about her adult content. Now he looks uncomfortable. He's plucking lint off of his pants, and I'm like, there's no smile. He looks distant. He says, hey, what is beautiful is meant to be shown. Fans will see you, but I get to go home with you. She loves how he is open-minded enough to be respectful. So they have another date, and he's like, good morning, queen, I want to be your subject. And she's like, well, let me go get the handcuffs. And I'm like, okay. So he asked her to talk to him about things, and he said he's been married 3 times. First to his daughter's mother, and that that lasted 19 years. Second one lasted 12 years, and the third one almost 8 years. I said, you've been married most of your life, Revo. But he hopes to make it 30 years with her. He does like how they poke and banter with each other, and, they focus on feelings and getting to know each other. He says he tells us he's not in love, but he's headed there. We see Luciana and Fabio. He tells her that she is the top of his list and that's it. She says, hey, there's someone else that has awakened something intense in her and she wants to move on with Mario. He says, hey, she is the one for him, period. But if he's not the one for her, he will just get his bag and move on. No regrets. He did it because he wanted to and life goes on. Luciana and Mario, he says she's engaging and he thinks physically too she'll be engaging. She thinks that he's awakened something in her and the decision is not in her hands anymore. Basically, he got to propose. Sylvia and Revo, good morning, my queen, again. She's like, well, why did you join Love is Blind? He said he came in one way, but he thinks of it different now. She is so happy he said it, and it doesn't matter, what you look like. I said, girl, you're an adult content creator. He knows what you look like. If you went viral, he knows that you ain't ugly. So he wants to look in her eyes. He also is afraid that she may not like how he looks. She says she's dreamed of him, of his abs and his bootay. And I'm like, girl. She says she needs to feel taken care of and she's not one to do anything for a man. He admires how she changed her mind to him. I'm like, how? That sounds kind of flippy floppy to me. But she worries that he will not be the romantic man that she needs. He gives her a gift, a Colombian rose. He proposes. And she says, no way. Really? He asks again. She's hesitating. She says, I'm worried that this isn't very romantic. He says, I am taking the action that you asked for. She's like, can you please ask me again? And he's like, will you please marry me, my queen? She's like, I think so. He's like, I think so. Okay, that's wonderful. What part of this is wonderful? Revo, you're delusional. What part of this is wonderful? And Miss Sylvia, your head is in the clouds. Your head is in the clouds. There's got to be, oh my God, romantic. Girl, please, calm down. She thanks him for finally being proposed to for the first time at the age of 62. So that is why she needs it to be all this to be romantic. Missy, get out the fairy tale, please. But then she talks about, oh, it's going to be a great ball. She's going to meet her king. They're going to dance all night. Really? But y'all, we get to the reveal. She's doing a little burlesque dance, okay? And she's trying to relax, and it's almost like she is doing a little dance for her man who's sitting in a chair. And I'm like, lady, Sylvia, this is not your adult content. The doors open, they smile, but she looks disappointed. He calls her beautiful, but she does call him handsome. He is moved by what he saw. She loves a sensitive man because he is crying, and he asks her again, will you marry me? And she hesitates, but then says, my love. That is the end of episode 2. Please make sure you do join me for episode 3 and 4's recap, which will be airing soon. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.